All right, now, meantime, 8 House Republicans are now calling for a probe of the FBI over the Bureau's alleged special treatment Hillary Clinton received during its investigation into her email server. The lawmakers want Attorney General Jeff Sessions to appoint a second special counsel to look into Clinton. And they say there's been a big double standard in regards to how the FBI has treated Hillary Clinton and President Trump. In fact, North Carolina Congressman and Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows said, quote, "Special deals for special people is not the American way." So will we ever see such an investigation, or will this get swept under the rug like a smashed email server? Let me go to my battery-powered party panel. Tonight, from the Fox Business Network, the one and only Dagen McDowell, double horns, and Army veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth is here, along with Kat Timpf, the Greg Gutfeld show correspondent. And she is gorgeous and very Rapunzelian tonight.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening. So let's talk about this double standard a little bit, because there might be something to the idea that Hillary Clinton was given such special treatment. In fact, the investigation was called special. And the language describing her actions was certainly softened, taking it from something that was very criminal to something that was not charge-worthy, but she got a good lip smacking from James Comey. So is there a double standard at play here?
Absolutely. And I think it does raise the issue with these calls from these Republican congressmen. Is Bob Mueller too conflicted to be running to be the special counsel? Because part of the issue is the FBI, what happened with Jim Comey and the FBI and the handling of the Clinton investigation. And the Wall Street Journal editorial page has called for Mueller's resignation, that he needs to step aside. Yeah. So if he's not going to step aside, listen, Bob Mueller's made it clear to people like Alan Dershowitz in private meetings in the past, like, I'm not going to sit here and have you disparage the FBI and draw it into, you know, raise questions about its credibility. And he's buds with Jim Comey. I think that you need to, and by the way, that FBI agent who got caught sending anti-Trump text messages to his mistress, he interviewed top Clinton aides, Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, who did lie about the Clinton secret server. So why weren't they charged with lying to investigators?
Yeah, if that's the crime, not necessarily committing a criminal act, but lying to the FBI, then that points to a double standard. But what does Mueller do? I mean, it seems like he's so dug in, and he and Comey, and by the way, this is playing out exactly as James Comey wanted.
Yes, he limps to the finish line with very little to go with, but I don't see him stepping down. It depends on what he watches and who he listens to. Because if you look at the facts of the matter and what we report here at Fox News Channel, you see one side of the story of how biased it's really been, the way that politics has been weaponized inside our intelligence services and investigative bodies. But if you were to turn on other networks and watch certain other morning shows, you'd see that everyone's going to be thrown in jail soon. The noose is tightening. He's locking in. Here come the indictments.
How many times have they claimed this is it? This is the thing that's going to bring the president down?
Every single time, and then it's offensive to nothing burgers to call it a nothing burger. What we're seeing come out of these things, so I think it limps to a whimper.
All right, so I think, you know, as civil libertarians, what we have to look at here is the abuse of power and the amount of power concentrated at the FBI, and the fact that so much of this is about maintaining that power, protecting that power, and punishing the person who's going after it, namely the president. I'm not a fan of everything the president does, but I'm very dubious about the FBI's role in the Hillary Clinton server investigation and their response to it. And with the investigator being thrown off and sent to Human Resources to staple papers, there's something very curious going on here. How do you see it?
Yeah, I completely, the more that comes out about how biased this really was, I completely understand why Hillary Clinton did what she did. I would have totally been a criminal too if I would have known that everything I did was just going to be written off as no big deal. And it is obviously much different than the way that President Trump.
Hey, if you win the presidency, to your point, you go ahead and you put in a new FBI director. If you lose, you're not going to be charged because you play the victim.
Yeah, absolutely. She could have pardoned herself. I mean, she knew these people were her buddies. She knew these people were on her side. This wasn't a secret, so she didn't have to be as careful. I wouldn't call the Russia investigation a nothing burger, though, because we've had 4 indictments, and there have been some things that they found, and it's also not over yet. But I think that you'd have to be an idiot to say that the treatment's been the same.
Yeah, no, there is a double standard.
You can indict those at the top of the FBI without indicting the entire FBI. There are so many great agents that do great work, but when the political bias is so evident,
indict or really investigate the head of the FBI?
No, he ran the FBI for 12 years. He believes that it is above the board all the time, and that he's not. That's the argument from the Wall Street Journal editorial board.
There is a degree of sanctimony there, in addition to self-preservation, that they are doing such good work. By virtue of their goodness, they cannot be investigated in the same way.
And you brought this up, but one issue that also needs to be looked at by Mueller and his team is the use of that phony dossier that was funded by Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, put together by Russians, the use of that in triggering the investigation of the Trump team in the first place. Right, and the potential wiretap.
To spy on Americans.
Yes.
By using that flimsy piece of garbage to spy on Americans.
Spy on Americans. And by the way, why, and this is a rhetorical question to you, the great libertarian, why is it legal for the FBI to lie to someone being interviewed? It's perfectly A-OK legally for them to lie, but if you lie to an investigator, they send you to jail. Because
the sanctimonious double standard is based on how they view themselves. If you're an FBI lawyer, you can do no wrong. It's kind of like journalists, right? No, you can't impugn us. We're unbiased because we have a journalist after our name. It's the same standard they want just because they're lawyers.
Yeah, but we can't send people to the Hooskow and ruin their lives.
No, we can't. It's the verbal Hooskow right here on the Kennedy Show. Party panels return a little bit later on. First up, many Republican senators not happy with the White House and the RNC's backing of Roy Moore, rightly so. But could a Republican victory in the Alabama Senate race turn into a long-term defeat and a bunch of problems for the grand old party? I'll ask former Congressman Jason Chaffetz next. Well, if you plan on having a smooth flight home this holiday season, you're going to have to cool your jets. Many airlines reportedly experiencing a huge increase in cases of air rage. The International Air Transport Association reports the number of travelers who get drunk, disorderly, or even violent has risen by 50% from last year. The incidents often result in passengers being forcibly restrained or booted from the flight or having their rabbits killed. But after waiting on long lines for hours, delayed and canceled flights, and receiving the full casting couch treatment from TSA officers, is it any wonder that folks are a little on edge? My high-flying party panel is back. Dagen McDowell, Pete Hegseth, and Katherine Timpf. Kat, have they forgotten the lessons of 9/11? Some of these out-of-control passengers.
Well, I get a little angered by the security theater at the airport myself. I don't think it really makes us any safer, but it does make it so I'm treated like a criminal if I leave eyeliner in my bag and they inspect my bags and think it's a knife. I'm very upset and very mad when I'm on planes. I had a really bad flight recently. I was next to not only a baby, but a stinky baby, a baby that smelled terrible for 5 hours. But you can't punch.
That's bad parenting, though.
Yes.
Having flown with infants, I gotta say.
Very bad.
Pick your baby up, and sometimes you gotta MacGyver a changing station. But it's very possible.
I did not punch the baby. Not to brag. I didn't punch the baby. You can't punch anyone on an airplane. You're going to get caught.
Okay, but if you are going to punch someone on an airplane, how do you defend yourself if you're attacked by one of these air ragers?
How do you immediately hit your attending call button as hard as you can?
Okay, and then poke them in the face?
Yeah, you do what you got to do to defend yourself. I blame Trump. Clearly, it must be his fault.
Yeah, the resistance has to start on
Resistance has to start somewhere. You're stuck on a plane talking to who? What if you're stuck next to Kat?
Okay, you know what? My latest pet peeve, and this is driving me crazy, older Americans, some of our finest, who get brand new iPhones, like the 8 and beyond, and they require the special earbuds, and they're not going to get AirPods, but they have to have the toggle or the adapter. They're not going to buy the adapter, so they listen to a movie at full volume, and that's happened to me twice until I got up twice and went over to a guy and was like, all right, okay, we get it. You're watching something. What if everyone was watching something at full volume? And then the flight attendant had to.
But people blame air rage on everybody and everything, but they're drunk, pilled out reprobate asses. It is their own fault because they act like children!
Yeah. Drunk children
Stop
at that.
Standing in front of the podium when you were in the last row in the plane. You're not boarding now. You're not boarding.
Never
Stop it! I fly every weekend, and there are multiple people drunk. I get people's bags dropped on my head.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's the other one. If you're in the last boarding group, you're not going to be able to check the
pills help with the rage, though. I don't want to brand pills.
Booze and the ambient. It's booze and ambient.
By raging against the rage, Dagen embodies the rage.
But you know what? I'm not getting arrested. I'm not causing the plane to stop halfway to my destination. I sit there and I shut up in my sober mind, with my sober mind. I don't say anything.
I think, maybe
the people are the problem. It's bad enough the doggone plane smells like Fritos and feet.
Oh, Fritos.
Yeah, the stinky kid. I was miserable.
Any sort of plane stink, it's the people who smell like a combination of raw onions and whiskey.
Why are you taking your shoes off? Don't take your shoes off.
I don't want
at least do it incrementally.
Nail polish on.
I've done all those things.
And Cat Timpf, don't stick your bare dogs between the seats on the footrest so I can see your little...
My adorable toes. My adorable toes. You're welcome, America.
All right. Well, there's going to be a Cat's Toes calendar. Cat, Pete, and Dagen.
I didn't hit anybody.
Glorious night.
Got a little upset.
No, she just, all she's doing is speaking her mind. Free speech here, people. This is one of those zones. Thanks again, everybody. Speaking of pills, coming up, city and local governments across the country trying to save their employees money by sidestepping the FDA and buying their prescription medications from other countries. I like it, but the feds say it's illegal. Does that make it wrong? Charles Payne, he steers me right next.